Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Ledwell and this is The Inspiration Show. Today on the show we're going to be speaking to something that's very near and dear to my heart and something that I talk a lot about, and that is how our emotions and feelings and our thoughts affect our vibration and what that has to do with our energy levels and how we manifest things into our life. So please help me welcome my special guest to help me with this conversation today, Vicki Sandler. How are you, Vicki?
Great. I'm glad to be with you. Thanks.
It's wonderful to have you here. We're going to have a very awesome conversation today, and I can't wait to get into it. But before we do that, why don't we start with a little bit about your background and how you got into doing this type of work?
All right. In October of 1996, Natalie, I had done everything society told me to do. I'd become a successful lawyer, went to law school like my mother and my boyfriend wanted me to. I had 2 children. I was happily married. And I had a hole in my heart, and I couldn't explain it. And I began journaling, and the journal actually ended up becoming a lot of my book. And what I realized is I wasn't aligned. I wasn't in my heart's joy. I had lived from my head, because that's what all the analytical training taught me to do, when life is governed by your heart. And so I made a proposal to the executives at the energy company I worked with to lead their green energy company that they were creating. And I'll never forget, the executive vice president, Natalie, looked at me and he said, "And throw your law degree away?" And boy, if that didn't fuel the fire of fear, but nonetheless, I knew I was not aligned. And so I made a proposal, and they did a nationwide search, and I ended up with the position and got to start up the green energy company and use some of the principles that I'll talk to you about today with my people that really worked great. And that's why I ended up writing a book, because I couldn't believe that we were 100 strong, and we, were in a marketplace with giants like Enron. Now, it helped that we were moral as far as our success, but really it was through alignment with who you are at your core.
Right. So I'm starting to feel some memories come up of myself. I always talk about my 30s as being my beige years.
Yes.
Kind of really, like a whole bunch of different businesses, but nothing was kind of, and I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until later that I went, oh, I know what was missing. There was no soul. There was no spirit. There was no fulfillment. There was no purpose. It was just get in, get out, make money, move on to the next thing. So tell me the difference between how you were feeling back then and how you feel now inside of yourself, and what's the shift that's happened for you?
Very good question. And with my people too, I saw it with all of us. What's really interesting is when you're aligned with who you are at your core and in your heart, while there's a lot of effort involved in your activity, it's not the struggle. Literally, I pounded my head against the wall, and I had that rock come down. I pushed up the rock, and it would come down on me. So I liberated so much energy by not having it drained doing what I was not in love with. And that's what I helped free my people to do. And in fact, we became enormously successful, made $220 million a year, have legacy energy projects, $80 million in a district cooling plant, and solar and wind, and you name it. But our company was sold actually after 10 successful years, and that took me on an even deeper path that maybe we'll get into. But I can't even express enough. People have told me I look 10 years younger because the wrinkles in my face, and I'll get back so you can't see them too well, but they have faded some. Just because you're not so stressed out, which is a huge waste of your energy. And as you know, because you've done work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, another quantum scientist, everything is energy. You are your energy. And you probably know how much of everything is energy, right?
Well, everything is energy, vibrating at different frequencies.
That's right. And so if 99.99% of everything is energy, then why, particularly as a Western society, do we focus so much on the material, on the external, when it's all about our energy? And so it's interesting that I am actually an energy expert, but it's gone beyond electrical and green to focus on your personal energy.
That's right. So what is the relationship between our thoughts and emotions and our particular energy?
All right, so I actually have a visual. That,
Awesome.
Okay, so this is, let's see right here, a cone of energy. And because everything's energy, this is a very low, dense frequency, this red color. It's like matter. It's very burdensome. It's down. This is up. There's a lot of metaphors in this. Anyway, this is the energy of fear, survival, frustration. And this is the elevated energy that's coherent, harmonic, of love and consciousness and joy and peace. And being an energy wonk, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. So when you find yourself down, you have to consciously bring yourself up. Now, the really interesting thing is, by age 35, which we might be, although you don't really look it.
No, God, no, I'm not a day past 34.
You know, 95% of our judgments, behaviors, beliefs, perceptions, how we feel, are all memorized reactions. They're embodied, they're unconscious, if you will. And so I developed a process for bringing the unconscious to the conscious so that you can direct your energy towards what you love and not what you fear. I mean, I'm sure we have friends, so often they're talking about afraid, you know, that their child will be hurt walking to school, or afraid of this or that. And they're actually unconsciously directing their energy towards creating that experience. And we'll get to a point here where I actually use the mind movies as a tool to ensure that I'm consciously directing my energy towards what I want to create and not what I fear.
Yeah, because that's the thing, when we're in those lower vibrational emotions, I mean, you can see that it's dense. You feel heavy, you feel low, you feel gray, or you know, whatever. And the thing is, it's important for us to get into those higher vibrations for many different reasons. But the thing is, if we're trying to solve a challenge in these lower vibrations, we can't see anything. We can't see the forest for the trees. All we can see is what's right in front of us. So we need to get into that higher vibration to be able to do that. So do you have any tips on how we can get our vibration from these lower vibrations to something higher?
Yes, I have a lot. And if you would like to try one with me, it'll take about 90 seconds.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So I know you know how to do this. So sit up in your chair, roll your shoulders back. Put both hands on your belly so you can get a deep belly breath, not shallow. So taking a breath, feel your belly go out, and then let it out. Okay, now let's try this. In for 5, hold for 3, and out for 7. So deep breath in, belly breath, bring it up. For 5, hold for 3, and out for 7. Okay, one more time. In, hold, and out. Now, if you would close your eyes, because if the viewers want to participate, they can do this too, and that shuts out 90% of the stimulus, all right? And what I'd like you to do, Natalie, as you breathe in deep, is think about someone important in your life who got Natalie to the inspiration show where she sits right here, right now. Just see their face as you breathe. Now, take their face in your hands and then wrap your arms around their shoulders and give them a great big hug. Deep breath. Now take your arms around your shoulders, cross them, and give yourself a great big hug. Put your hands up on your shoulders and just love on yourself, which we don't do very often, okay? Deep breath. Drop your hands. Let's see a great big smile and open your eyes. And I want to show you, combining head with heart. What happened in your body when you just did that? So you can see here, right here, you can see this is a nice coherent high wave. That's health. That's at the top of that. That's the purple color in that cone. And this is the incoherent, chaotic wave that's associated with fear and frustration and stressed out. And what happens is, it's like those, for those that remember the radio, when you've got it out of tune, you know, it's all incoherent. You get all that static and noise. And what that does, it creates chaos in your mind, confusion in your heart. And so when you just do some gratitude breathing, 90 seconds, you can do it in traffic when it's stressing you out. You can actually change what's happening inside your body, because your heart sends a signal to your brain that's coherent information, and it calms you down and allows your energy to be more useful in thinking and feeling what you love.
Right. Wow. That was that's incredible, and I think too it's like a centering exercise as well, so that you it's like, and coherence. So talk about what it means to be coherent, because that's the subject.
Well, you know, the definition of coherence is you can think clearly, right? And so again, when all the information is all jumbled, your energy is being wasted, and you're not coming up with breakthrough ideas in your life or work. And another great way to get coherence, let me put a little nerd stuff in here for just a moment, because, you know, there's like 3 brains now. There's your head, your heart, and your gut. And physiologically, just in lay terms, because I am an economist, an attorney, and a former CEO, I am not a neuroscientist, although I've studied a lot. I've thought about going back for a degree, and I love Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Fannon's work, and am a practitioner. But what happens is your gut reaction, okay, you know someone's going to call you. Guess what? That information comes to you 40 million times faster, 40 million bits per second versus 4 million bits per second in your brain. And so you're going to repeat these old memorized incoherent patterns if you don't bring what's going on unconscious to your conscious. And it takes about 90 seconds to flip that switch and let your prefrontal cortex, your cognitive brain, what separates us from the humans, or the apes rather, what makes us human, that has to kick in, and your gut reactions that could be based in fear, the fight or flight, the stressed out mode, that has to be turned off, and your thoughtfulness, your clarity, your coherence has to be turned on. And you need about 90 seconds, which is why that tool is so good.
Yeah, right. Because when we're talking about coherent, we're talking about being coherent with the quantum field, or being coherent with energy around us, so that we get into a state of what I like to call flow.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And it's not just things that are coming to us easy and that we're finding everything easy, but our thoughts are easy. Ideas are coming to us because we are coherent with that quantum field. Yes.
Again, I had to learn the hard way, because I kept pushing that boulder up the hill, letting it fall down and crush me. And I find now, I have a quick story and another tip for you, but when they sold the company, I mean, literally, that was my baby. I curled up in a fetal position and probably cried for about 4 hours. And I'd lost my identity in part too, which is not true. It was a perception that was not true.
Right.
But I had learned some things. That's what we hope the years do, bring some wisdom. And I went with the flow. And within a month, Natalie, I got a call about this job that I'd looked at 10 years prior when I was dissatisfied, you know, as a lawyer. And I didn't have to apply. I have flexibility. One thing I knew is I was only going to work with the people that I love and respect. That was, you know, kind of what I was formulating for what do I do next in my life. And they called me. I've done it for 8 years. It's completely flexible. I can travel around the world. It pays great. I'm still connected with the energy experts that I love. And all I had to do was allow. But that takes trust and faith, right?
Yeah. And that's a muscle that we need to flex and to practice and work. Yeah.
So I have a process that I used with the people I worked with. I use with my peers. My poor kids know it. And I'll show it to you real quick. It's called the 3 A's process, and it's just awareness, acknowledging what blocks your energy, and it's usually fear, and then taking aligned action. And the thing is, awareness, I have a real quick example. If you don't become aware, you really can't get in the flow. You can't become coherent because you're completely unaware. You haven't brought these memorized unconscious things to the conscious. So as a new CEO, my HR director made me aware that I wanted to get on with it, get efficient, and I would cut off and interrupt my associates if they weren't getting to the point quickly enough.
Right.
And so I became aware when she lovingly advised me that wasn't the trait of a great CEO. And CEO, by the way, is now I'm my own chief energy officer. So nice. Another play on energy words. So I became aware. So I had to acknowledge resistance because after all, who I was had gotten me to that place anyway.
Yep.
So I had to acknowledge my resistance, what was blocking a different flow of energy within me. And I said, I want to become a great CEO. So I will acknowledge that interruption is not great. Then I had to take aligned action. So I put a piece of paper on my desk, and all day long for 30 days, I checked every time I interrupted and every time I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I'm not perfect, Natalie, but I am better, much better. You could ask my husband of 33 years, and he will definitely say I'm better. Yeah. And I learned to become a better listener because anything we want to change that we desire, I'm sure you've never had a New Year's resolution or promise you made to yourself that you didn't keep. I know Natalie would never have an unkept promise. But if you have, then you have to practice and breathe to catch that reaction to make the change happen. So the best intent isn't going to work if you don't feel it in your heart. And so if I can give you, so I gave you an example like of the awareness piece. I've got another example for awareness. I gave you, you can become aware that you're down in the dumps and do gratitude breathing. You can also work with the great analytical mind, which actually is 5% because 95% is embodied. But you can work with it because it's a problem solver. So instead of saying, how will I ever get this all done during the day, you can say, how easy it was for me to get the most important things done today. And your analytical brain will try to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you can do. You can become your own witness. Sports, like a football player throws the ball, they miss, they go back and look at the film, right? What happened? And that's really stepping outside yourself and becoming aware of yourself. So every time you can catch yourself and without judgment say, oh, Vicki, why did I interrupt again? I gave that up 20 years ago. You can catch the problem and then modify your behavior and create the change in the love-based way you want to be.
Absolutely.
So that's awareness. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So acknowledging the fear, I have a tip, and that is, so if I was afraid to apply for a job because I knew I was down and not aligned in what I was in, I would ask myself, okay, Vicki, what is the worst thing that could happen if I applied for that job? What's the worst thing? You don't get it. What's the best thing that could happen if I apply for that job? Well, they call me 5 minutes later and I get it. Or what's the most likely thing that happens when I apply for that job? Well, you know what? You've actually opened up your mind and your heart to a change, to something else. You send energy out for a change. And so what's most likely to happen, it could be a step on the way to aligning with your heart's desires.
Right.
So that's a really great tool when you're afraid. Analysis paralysis, you're locked, is to say what's the best, worst, and most likely to happen.
Right, awesome. So, Vicki, we have totally run out of time, but this has been such an incredible show. If people want to connect and find out more and work with you and get some more information, where can we send them to do that?
Great. Go to www.vickisandler.com, and there is there's some free videos there. I created a video program to anchor what we've talked about today because people are so busy. They should have 2 to 3 minutes every morning. And so for 30 days, you get a video delivered to you, and you can try out 3 of them for free on my website. And my book is there too, that I wrote about how to do this process. Find your scream, live your dream, discover your inner leader. Won a couple awards. So that's there too. You can download an ebook for your busy lives.
Wonderful. So thanks again, Vicki, for joining us. And remember, guys, just click on the banner to the side of this video or underneath this video to go straight through to Vicki's website. Make sure that you share this video, and you can do that by clicking the Facebook and the Twitter share buttons on this page. And leave your email if you haven't done so already, so we can send you the Manifesting with the Masters video e-course. It's actually valued at $87. We'd love to send it to you for free. So until next time, remember to live large, choose courageously, and love without limits. We'll see you soon.